to call this meeting to order at 5:30. This meeting is duly called and posted in accordance to Texas Statutes 551. We will now adjourn into executive session. And it is 5:31.
Very good.
I'd like to open this meeting up. We have left our closed session and moving on to item 3. We do have a public meeting tonight to discuss the 2017-2018 budget and proposed tax hike. I'll know Dr. Warren.
Board, this is our meeting mandated by the Texas Education Code for the official adoption of our budget tonight and the future adoption of our tax rate. Mr. Graswich?
Yes, the Board of Trustees approved the notice that was published in the Denton Chronicle at the last meeting. Essentially, we've gone through the entire budget process. We're proposing a tax rate of $1.49, although which would be $1 for maintenance and operations and 45 cents for interest and sinking. However, tonight we're just adopting the budget. We'll be bringing this whole process back again in August when we have the actual certified tax roll at that time. This is a public hearing, so at this point I would suppose, unless there's questions from the board, we would be open to the public to comment or discuss.
Board members? Anybody in the audience wishing to address the board? If so, the mic is yours. Seeing none, we will move on to close this public meeting. We're going to move on to item number 5. We're going to reconvene the regular meeting after the public meeting. If you would, please rise for the invocation and pledge. Dr. Warren.
Thanks for everybody coming out tonight. If you feel comfortable doing so, please pray with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we just thank you so much for allowing us all to be here tonight. Board members, Lord, staff, students, our parents, caretakers here tonight, Lord. For this here tonight, we say home, Lord, for all our things. Please make sure to provide love, guidance, all right, we have 3 very special guests from Steele High School. Guys, go over to the microphone. Oh, are they? The Steele kids can do anything. Caitlin, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell them what you're into at the Steele.
Hi, my name's Caitlin White. I'm going to be a senior this year at Steele Accelerated High School. I'm very blessed to be able to go to Steele because they're helping me work my way to go to Texas State University, where I want to major in anthropology. So, thank you for letting me be here tonight.
Hello, I'm Seamus McCartan, and I am going to my sophomore year at Steele Accelerated High School. I am very thankful for the CTE program at our school because it's helped me get certified and get a foot into the door, so to speak, into an information technology career.
Hello, my name is Jacob Hootman. I'm a student at Jameson Steele Accelerated High School. I'm next year's president of student government. And I'm thankful to go to Steele because it gives me an opportunity to attend a smaller and unique school environment.
My mom's Jennifer White.
All right, well, let me tell you this. Ms. Hayes wrote about you guys. Each of these students work to build a competitive advantage and are preparing for their global economy. They are building strong portfolios that will help them take the next step to industry leaders. We are looking forward to see what they will accomplish in the school. They all look fantastic. Thank you for coming tonight, and why don't y'all lead us in both ways, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great summer.
That brings us down to item number 7. Oh, yeah, 7, recognitions. Dr. Warren?
Mrs. Conklin.
Yes, good evening. Dr. Warren and President Schluter, can you come to the front for recognitions, please? At this time, I'd also like to ask John Grasswich to join them at the front as well. Northwest ISD has received the Association of School Business Officials International's Meritorious Budget Award for its 2016-17 annual budget. This award recognizes school districts that demonstrate proficiency in creating clear, sound budgets. NISD has received this recognition for the fiscal years 2001 through 2016 through 2017. And Miss Deanne Hatfield as well. Also, the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada is pleased to announce that NISD has received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 16-17 annual budget. This award is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. Wow, that's hard to say. NISD has received this award for the fiscal years 2002 through 2003 and 2016 through 2017. Congratulations. Next this evening, we're recognizing our second semester GYM winners. The GYM Going the Extra Mile Award was created to recognize central office staff members on exemplary customer service. Each 6 weeks, employees in the administration building are nominated by their peers and community members. In partnership with Chick-fil-A Roanoke, winners are surprised with a goodie basket and the friendly Chick-fil-A cow, get a free week of breakfast at Aramark, and their own parking spot. So as I call your name, please come to the front to be recognized. We have Special Education Transition Specialist Lynn Austin, our 4th 6 weeks winner. I don't know if I see her, but she said she was going to be here tonight. So, Web Specialist Melissa Shawn, our 5th 6 weeks winner. And then we have our Energy Manager Charles Ashby as our 6th 6 weeks winner. All right, thank you. And this concludes our recognitions.
That brings us down to item number 7, public participation. There is one. Looks like we have one, Mr. Rowan. If you would come to the mic, state your name and address for the record, and in the meantime, I will read this lengthy disclosure. This is an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Trustees on any matter, whether or not posted on the agenda. Pursuant to board policies BED legal and BED local, the Board of Trustees may place reasonable constraints on the number, length, and frequency of presentations so long as it does not unfairly discriminate among the speakers based on a viewpoint. The Board of Trustees is not permitted to take action or discuss any presentations made to the Board of Trustees at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. If a member of the public or board inquires about a subject for which notice has not been given, the board may only make a statement of specific factual information or recite existing policy in the response to the inquiry. 30 minutes have been allotted to hear persons who desire to make comments to the board. Persons who wish to participate in this portion of the meeting must sign up and complete a request to speak form before the meeting begins and indicate their topic, which you have, sir. The public may only speak during the public participation or defer to a specific agenda item. The presentation of any member of the public is limited to 3 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 persons, which I do not see here, appoint one person to represent the views before the board. So with that, sir, it's all yours.
All righty. Well, hello there. My name is Chase Rowan, 3636 Saratoga Downs Way, Fort Worth, Texas. My daughter just graduated first grade at K Granger. We've loved it out here ever since. And over the past couple of years, I've started to really just look at things, and first off, to see how tough y'all's jobs are. It's because it's really remarkable to deal with. I mean, we're 20,000 students, and that's just a lot of kids to, take care of. Well, then I started looking back at my training from the military, being an Army Ranger, and I started kind of putting the two and two together of, hey, there's a technology available right now that's helping the military. It can be working in schools. And it not only saves money, but it's much more efficient. And it's the use of video analytics, live surveillance. And it's being used at NISD. There's a lot of school districts in the area that are using it, but I wanted to make Northwest ISD aware. And I don't know if you have a committee or what, but I would love to be on it. I just think that it's something that you guys are a powerhouse, I believe, in the school districts, and a lot of the other ones are already having this. And they're having incredible results from it as well. But I'm not the salesman for this company. I'm just, my daughter goes to the school, and I just believe in this, and I want to see it in all schools, to be honest with you. So,
Very good.
That's it. I just wanted to inform you all of it. So, I don't know how I get y'all information or what, but can I send somebody?
We'll have someone call you.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and I think you gave that to us on your card. So,
and the last question for you: how do y'all do that? Like for security moving forward, do y'all have somebody that's trying to keep y'all security up to par, like with everyone else, or are y'all looking for new innovations and new securities that are out there, or what?
with the passage of the bond, that'll be part of the package. We'll bring in someone to give us the guidance on what we feel will be the best, and within the scope of the bond and the building process, be able to do that. Because I think you and I talked. Okay, that's what I thought. Every campus, X amount of dollars will be spent, and that was part of our presentation, that up to $14, $15 million is going to be spent across the district on security issues, whether it be hardware, software, the building itself. So yeah, we'll if we actually have an external committee, I'd love for you to be on that. So we'll get that information to you.
The numbers you just threw out there, we're talking a third of that is what this actually technology cost, and it's working flawlessly. So to spend that much money on security for doors and everything else, it's like, let's protect the perimeter of our schools first, before we get to the building. And that's what this is doing. So
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
I didn't know
Mr.
if I could bring some flashcards or have some up on there, because there's so many, it's hard to visualize.
You did a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Rowan. That brings us down to item number 9, which is consideration of possible action and revision of the superintendent's contract. We have been in a lengthy discussion regarding the evaluation. I appreciate each of the board members' input and comments regarding that. So with that, I will entertain a motion. Ms. Scott.
I move to approve the revisions to the superintendent's contract.
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Comp, seconded by Mr. Wright, to approve the revision to the superintendent's contract. Any further discussion on that item? I will say that from the board standpoint, we are all pleasantly pleased with the progress we've made thus far. It's been amazing. The ride, you've almost been here a year already, and it seems like you've been here much longer. You fit in very well. I think from the board and community and your administration, we've developed some great relationships, and I hope to continue those in the future.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, board.
Brings us down to item number 10, consent agenda. Board members?
Second.
A motion has been made by Dr. Simpson, seconded by Mr. Sproles. Is all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Down to number 10G. Oh, never mind. Yeah, flipped the page and lost my place. Now, item number 11, discussion action, naming of the Haslett Elementary School principal. Dr. Warren.
All right, as someone in the back approaches the air button and turns it down, I am very proud to announce that we are very happy to present to you the name of Melissa Weber to be the new principal of Haslett Elementary School. Melissa has done a phenomenal job for us already, and she was one of several applicants for the Haslett job and rose to the top quickly. I would recommend approval.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wright.
move to name Melissa Weber as principal of Haslett Elementary School as recommended by administration.
Second.
Is that you, Dr. Roush?
Yes, it was.
A motion has been made by Mr. Wright, seconded by Dr. Roush to name Melissa Weber as principal of Haslett Elementary. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Board.
Number 11B, the naming of the Chisholm Trail Middle School principal. Dr. Warren.
Board, just as proud to bring you Melissa, I am proud to bring you Matrice Raven. Matrice is the assistant principal of Chisholm Trail Middle School as we speak. She will be an amazing building principal, moving her up to the principalship. So I would recommend approval of Matrice Raven.
Mr. President,
Mr. Fuller.
I move to name Matrice Raven as principal of Chisholm Trail Middle School as recommended by the administration.
A motion has been made by Mr. Fuller, seconded by Dr. Simpson, and to name Matrice Raven as principal of Chisholm Trail Middle School. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Board.
Looking for the cheering squad here tonight, but
No cheers tonight.
no cheers tonight.
They're on vacation.
Moves down to 11C, and that's adopt the budget for the year ending June 30th of 2018. Dr. Warren.
Board, page 71 begins your information about the board, about the budget. I would like to thank each board member. Steve, you got into it a little bit late, but I'd like to thank each board member for the work you put in on this. We started this in December, this process in December. A lot of workshops were held, great decisions were made, and we truly appreciate your work in finalizing this budget. Mr. Reswich?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was looking back, and we started this whole process, it just seems like yesterday, I know, but it is actually December the 12th of the previous year. And at that time, we had revenues forecast of $182 million, expenditures of $200.2 million, and we were planning to use $18 million in fund balance to balance the budget. That was based on a 7.5% growth in the tax base. Well, that was the one assumption that was way off. We're looking more at a 22% or 20% plus. Currently, it's at 22%. We'll see where the certified roll comes out in July, and then the supplementals in October. But 22% growth takes the tax base from $13.4 billion up to $15.25 billion. So that's a huge jump. As a result, the revenues went from $182 million to $201 million. That huge difference, obviously. Interestingly enough, though, the expenditures went from $200.2 million to $201 million, so they only changed $800,000 over all of those meetings. A lot of people worked very hard to put a very tight pencil to those numbers to minimize the impact, and as a result, we're producing a balanced budget, which was not anticipated, of course, back in December. We've had the quarter-page notice passed. There's all sorts of information in the packet in regards to the various cost increases and tax increases. Officially, the board tonight is adopting the budget for the general fund, the food service fund, and the debt service funds. The other special revenue funds and capital projects funds are shown for informational purposes to give a complete picture of the operations of the district. I'd be happy to answer any questions in regard to the packet. Otherwise, we're looking for approval to fund the budget starting effectively July 1.
John, whenever our senators meet in special session and House, is there a chance that we can amend this budget based on anything that they happen to do to us or for us down the line?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The budget, as you know, is amended just about once on a monthly basis and is a very dynamic document. In fact, earlier tonight you approved the final amended budget for the fiscal year we're wrapping up right now. But yes, most definitely, although reading the comments, that's a highly unlikely scenario.
Okay. I'm just making sure that
Yes.
we had that in the record. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments, board members?
Board would recommend approval.
Mr. President,
Ms. Cobb?
I move to adopt the budget for the year ending June 30th, 2018, as recommended by the administration. Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Cobb, seconded by Dr. Rouse for the motion as read. Any further discussion? I will say, John, you're not quite accurate as a weatherman, but you're always in the positive at the end, so that makes us all happy. You get awards, you save money, and let's have a party.
So you're basically saying I got nowhere to go but this.
All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Thank you, board.
Moving down to 11D, which is the Northwest Education Foundation Memorandum of Understanding. Dr. Warren?
Board, on page 114 begins the MOU that Emily laid out for you last board meeting. There have been just a couple of changes that she showed you on there. Emily, any comments?
Yes, we did visit with the NEF board, and there were just a couple of things that that we tweaked just in our reevaluating the partnership with the NEF board. That's something that's important to us in really establishing that partnership. So that's something that we're going to continue to do annually, giving both parties an opportunity to look at the agreement.
And would you generalize their attitude about this? Is it still very excited to be a part of us?
They are very excited. In fact, we're having lunch with them tomorrow, so very excited to start that planning process.
Very good. Board, I would recommend approval of the MOU with the Northwest Education Foundation.
Second.
A motion has been made by Dr. Simpson, seconded by Ms. Kopp to approve the motion as read. Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Good work, Emily.
Moves us down to 11E, Student Handbook and Code of Conduct. Dr. Warren?
Board, the Texas Education Code, the information on this begins on page 120 in your packet. The TEC mandates that you do two things for this every year. That we review the student handbook with you, and that we also review the code of conduct with you, but you also need to approve by the TEC. You need to approve the code of conduct for the next school year. So Susie is here to present to you the student handbook first, and then go over the code of conduct, and I will recommend approval after that.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, Mr. Schluter and Dr. Warren and the school board. We've been working diligently on updating our handbook and code of conduct to meet the needs of our students and our administrators as well. As you know, the purpose of our handbook is really to provide the best learning environment for our students, make sure that we have a safe and conducive atmosphere to learning, and that is paramount throughout our student handbook and code of conduct. Also to teach students self-discipline, and then we also have our policies and procedures in there. Just for people who want to know, and it's kind of fun to make these, is there is a process to the handbook, and we are all the way around to about 10 o'clock about review and approved by the school board, but it definitely goes through a process before it comes to you. Tonight, when I share with you updates on the handbook, we've divided it up into several categories. We'll talk about, I've clustered them together, even though they're not all clustered in the handbook in the same fashion. So we'll talk about discipline, dress code, health, safety of students, technology, and any general changes. So the first thing is discipline. Some of the updates. These first ones are just some legal reminders for administrators when they're working with a student and looking at DAP placement. It's also in there also for parents to also see what types of things we look at before assigning a DAEP placement. The third one in there is to just to clarify the restrictions for when a student is in ISS regarding what their extracurricular activities, when they can participate, when they can suit up and things like that. There hasn't really been a change to that, just a little bit of a clarifier. Probably our largest change in discipline is looking at updating this so that we had an equitable treatment of consequences for students. In the past, we had a set amount of days for a first, second, or third offense for students that are looking at a DAEP placement. But it really wasn't consistent with when you look at the different sports or different extracurricular activities. Basketball as opposed to football, there's a big difference in the game. So Dr. Ferris, myself, secondary administrators have looked over this, Dr. Lacefield, Joel Johnson, and so we feel like this is much more equitable. So instead of 10 days, it's 10% of an activity. Instead of 20 days, it's 20% of an activity, and after the third offense, it's 1 year suspension from that activity. I will let you know that on this slide right here, there is a mistake because it refers back to the days, but I've already corrected that and sent a new one to Jennifer. We have some dress code updates. With a new set of eyes on our dress code, I realized there were some things that were kind of antiquated for our elementary. They had already been deleted off of the secondary at some point, but we just never really thought about our elementary students dressing goth and things like that. So we took some of those things out that are really not appropriate for us anymore and merged them together so that we now have one dress code for all of our students. We feel like that this will give some continuity in what our expectations are from elementary school all the way through high school. The other thing that we explicitly added was to not have violent or offensive things on T-shirts. We made that pretty general because you can't just say not wear a gun because then Texas Tech wouldn't be represented. So we had to make sure that we did it in a little bit more broader sense, but I think that also gives administrators more authority on that point. Is that a good one? One thing I did forget is that, and I know this is pretty silly probably to you guys, but to girls it's a big deal, is in the past students could not have a shirt that was even narrower than the length of their student ID card. Well, if you've been shopping for girls, that's pretty unrealistic. So instead of the length, we have changed it to the width. It's still in the modest range, but we're hoping that parents can still purchase clothing for their students that will meet this criteria instead of spaghetti straps. And so here's the NISD student dress code now, all in one for elementary and secondary. With our health updates, most of them are just pretty general to go along with the Texas Department of Health and Human Services. There were a few things that were missing from our handbook. This one on page 24 about attendance. Even though we had some things in place, it wasn't embedded in there that parents could see what do we suggest or what does the Department of Health and Services recommend of when you keep a student home. And at the same time also about what constitutes a fever. We've also included for parents use the electronic and English and Spanish allergy forms, so that'll be a much clearer understanding for them. One piece we've always known, but we want to reiterate, is that chaperones on field trips are not to administer medication to students. We have district employees that are trained to do that, and we just want to make sure that chaperones know that that is in place. Under physical education, we've added a note that students must have a note from a parent or legal guardian if they're not going to participate. If it's longer than 5 consecutive days, we need a physician's note. And Shaq's under the oversight of athletics. Some safety updates. Notice that the district tip line was not in the student handbook, and so we have added that and embedded a hot link for that. And the other two are just updating some websites for sexual abuse of children and dating violence. Technology, our updates here are mainly teachers still have an acceptable use policy, but technology has updated, and for students we have a responsible use policy. So that's changing terms, and there will be links to that as well. Also, we removed the computing device agreement, and we've added students who access district-provided digital resources with their own devices or with a device provided by the district must comply with the responsible use policy. Our general updates, nothing is that exciting. We've had some name changes. The state made some changes in guidelines, and for writing, instead of 2 days, it's 1 day. That should have probably been changed last year. And then we just added some clarity for our summer learning opportunities for students. And we might have some additional changes, right, Christy? And so we'll just wait to see what that comes, and we'll probably see you back in August for that. Any questions?
Dr. McNeese, this is distributed online, correct? Is that how the students?
I'm sorry?
Distributed online? The
Yes.
students receive this online?
Yes, we'll have it online in English and in Spanish, and then we will also have a hard copy. We will wait to place the hard copy, really all of it, until we hear back and updates.
But you don't provide hard copies to all the students?
No, we provide hard copies for anyone who requests that they might not have access to technology.
Thank you.
Great job. Wonderful, wonderful work. Board, I would recommend that you approve the NISD 2017-18 Code of Conduct, including the one change, the one change that Susie referenced in her talk.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wright.
Move to approve the 2017-2018 Student Code of Conduct as recommended by administration.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Wright, seconded by Dr. Roush. For the motion as read and corrected, any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Dr. McNeese.
Thank you.
Appreciate you and the hard work there. I bet the board read every word of that student code of conduct. Brings us down to item number F, the 2017-2018 District Improvement Plan. Dr. Warren.
All right, board, let me give you just a brief presentation. We have had an extraordinary amount of work already put into the 17-18 District Improvement Plan. I'm very pleased with the efforts made by your staff, the faculty and staff that we were involved in this. This will be a report only. You have about a month and a half to review this, and then we will come back to you in the first meeting of August and answer any questions that you have after your review, because this is a large plan. Steve, just for your benefit, this is required again by the Texas Education Code, which is pretty much the education. The Texas Code is our Bible. That contains all the rules that we live by. That both the Board of Trustees will ensure, and the superintendent must develop this plan yearly with our planning level, with our district level planning committee to put in place a district improvement plan, and then all campuses have to create campus improvement plans. So we will have 28 plans to consider in the fall to bring to you, and there is what the TEC mandates. Those are what the plan must contain. Needs assessment all the way through the staff that are responsible and the timelines for achieving the goals. Everything is wrapped together, and I really do like this template. It shows you that everything builds on each other, from our core beliefs all the way through my priority goals, the board and the superintendent's priority goals, to support each other. You've seen this, and these next couple of things that I wanted to show you during my report to you at the end of the meeting. We're going to talk again. This is the year that we're going to have a new strategic plan. We're going to come together as board and myself and our team, and we're going to build a new probably 5-year strategic plan. So this may stay. Our vision may stay as is. This might be the last time that we use this in the district improvement plan, depending on what that strategic plan comes up with, as well as our operational goals. This plan was built on the 5 operational goals that the previous 4 years have been. So those are our operational goals that the plan was used to build upon. We looked at the intentional focus for the 17-18 improvement. We talked a lot about maintaining those operational goals, that this will be the last year that we will see until we do our new strategic plan. And the performance objectives include the superintendent priority goals. We discussed that those were very strong goals for the district moving forward. We could very well, after the 8 of us come together in end of July, 1st of August, and look at all the data that we will have at our disposal, we may add some things, but the priority goals were included in this district improvement plan that we already had, and the performance objectives were aligned to those needs and challenges. We met as a administrative leadership team, the cabinet and executive directors of the district. We met on June 5th. We had about a 6-hour planning session with those key district administrators. We discussed our challenges that we had this year that we've just concluded, and how well we did with those challenges. Then we identified the challenges moving forward into the new school year, and developed those key components that what we thought that we had great conversations that day. We went out to the OLC and had a really good. I enjoyed myself through that entire process. In comparison, this last district plan that you'll hear a report from me in just a second, we had the five strategic goals that we just discussed, 25 performance objectives, 118 strategies. Now, we changed philosophically after those 6 hours of planning at the OLC on the 5th. We changed just a little bit what our focus is going to be this year with our district improvement plan. We still have the 5 strategic goals. We have 20 performance objectives, but we only have 43 strategies, and here's the logic to that. As we went through the school year, and whoever put Angela in charge of maintaining the district improvement plan, she ruled us with an iron rod. We kept up with that plan meticulously through the year, but it seemed that we were paying a lot of attention to those strategies for the district improvement plan, but not enough to trying to assist campuses with their improvement plans. And I think that's the most important thing as a central office, that the support that we give to our campuses, we need to be there for them, for the campus improvement plans, and them successfully fulfilling that. So we dialed back just a little bit on what our district improvement plan is going to look like, so more energy for us is going to be spent working with our building principals, with our campus leadership teams, to fulfill their obligations of successfully completing the campus improvement plans. And everybody was really in tune with doing that. So your goals, as the first objective lays out, the NISD will design a dynamic learning experience. You'll see that though a lot of those are the goals that we've talked about since day one. Our literacy goals, our profile of a graduate with our advanced academics, our PBMAS focus with the groups that the PBMAS represents. We looked at sorting the programs that we were able to just create the overall learning experiences that will show up on our indicators from the distinctions from the TEA. We are going to look at a way to explore different programs to address character education. That's a new one, but we think that's very important. One of the things that we kind of identified as a district, looking at the needs of our children, we don't have an across-the-board character education program for our children, for our students. Many different principals use many different programs, but we don't have one or two or three just to say that we maintain across the district. So we're going to be working on that this year, and that we will measure student engagement through the various programs and opportunities offered to students in the participation and success rates. So goal 1. Goal 2, talking about our staff and how important they are to the equation. That we will seek, again, that quality pool. And I think we've done a great job thus far. Dr. Kaylee and her crew have been doing a fantastic job. And that last part of it, increase our substitute fill rate by 93%. That's a very important goal for us this year. We will maintain competitive salary. I think looking at our budget challenges in the future, we have to maintain competitiveness. And I've said before, it's not truly important that we're absolutely first place in the salaries and benefits, but we cannot be last place. I don't think we can even be middle of the road. I think we have got to be up in the top quarter, top 10% maybe of the school districts in the Metroplex because we are such a competitive market. So we're going to work hard on truly looking at our budget and what we can do in the future to put together some pay and benefit packages that will really recruit and retain the staff that we need to have. That we will continually brand NIC as a distinction and intentionally recruit those quality applicants to be able to come to us and serve our children. That we will communicate. The goal number 3, that we're going to communicate in a timely and open manner. That we will be a leading model in innovative and reliable communications where community and staff are engaged. That we will have a corporate and community partnerships. Emily and her team are going to look at even more, expanding to more corporate and community partnerships to what we do now through the work now that we're going to do with the foundation. I think I'm very excited about that. And we're going to investigate those processes and procedures that implement so that administrators can be more proactive rather than reactive in really understanding what our community needs from us. Goal 4, facilities. Manage our growth. We've got to have, with excellence, a successful building project. Our communities really supported us in our bond initiative, so we have to make sure that we put those bond projects on the ground. This was important to Tim, that we create and implement a truly preventative focused maintenance plan, that we are definitely not reactive, that we're proactive in making sure that we invest in our buildings and that we make sure that we meet the needs so the kids and our staff can be successful. And we analyze and provide continuous improvement for our outsource. We do outsource for a lot of different services in this, and we expect we have very high expectations for those outsource organizations. Goal 5, parents receive optimal educational services. We're going to create a 10-year financial plan. John and his crew are going to really dive in with the rest of us in support to making sure that we understand every decision you make as a board and the recommendation that I make to you, that we have some data behind us to make sure that this is going to be a very meticulous 10-year plan to make sure that we are financially sound, that we ensure an instructionally driven budget process. Instructionally, we talked about that just a minute ago, an instructionally driven budget process aligned with the strategic plan, and that that will provide relevant policy, regulatory, and all the student information systems, ensuring organizational efficiencies, and that we will deliver excellence in financial management. And that we will plan for our business community, continuity, and design in the disaster recovery plan. That's one of Adam's things, is that if we ever have that we will prevent any of the data breaches that some of our school districts around have had to deal with. So he's really working hard toward that end. All right, there is the planning schedule. We've started this about a month ago, and we're going to go through that school year. After we take your comments and your questions and we work on it another month and a half, we will ask you to approve, and then we will be in the process of making sure that we fulfill those obligations we have to successfully complete our district improvement plan. So this is what we thought moving forward, and this is the guidance that I need from you, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when I do my report to you at the end of the meeting. But we're thinking around October of beginning that strategic planning process and looking at it, and it is going to take some time commitment. It really is. We have not done this in a long time, for at least 5 years. So by February, I would like us to be able to present the recommendation for a 2018 to 2022 strategic plan by February of this next school year. Okay, so all of us who worked on this will be happy to answer any of your questions if you have them now. But you have a little more than a month to review the district improvement plan proposal, and we will come back to you the first meeting in August and I will report to you again what it's going to look like, how it's going to look like, and we will take your questions all the way throughout, your comments all the way out through that next month, and then do our best to include those.
I've got, I guess, maybe 2-3 questions. On goal 1, hang on. Under goal 1, performance objective 1, and strategy number 2, we're talking about implement professional development framework. Is that something new? have we had the professional development framework in the past? And what's that about?
Please.
So the professional development framework is a document that was designed throughout this year to better support training and professional learning for the district and for the teachers. So I will be sharing that with you towards the end of the summer when I do my professional development report. But an overview of it is it outlines every professional job that is in the district, from teachers, counselors, nurses, and then it breaks down even the teaching assignments by content or grade or course that they teach. And it outlines required professional learning for those positions as well as suggested professional learning for those positions. And then to align with T-TEST, each of our professional learning opportunities have been categorized by T-TEST domain. So at the end of the year, when teachers meet with their principals to discuss their goals based on their observations and their evaluations for the year, if a teacher feels like they need to set a goal to support themselves in planning, then they can go to that document and look and see what opportunities are available to them under planning to help support their professional goals there, or goals that their principals may have.
So it is something brand new.
It is new. It has been rolled out to campuses and to teachers, and so campuses spent time reviewing the document with their teachers at the end of the year, and they used it really preliminary because it was so new, but used it to plan their professional learning for this summer as they did their end-of-year conferences.
Okay, great, thanks. The next question, and I only have one other after this. In dealing with, LSU is probably losing anyway, so... Sorry. Goal 1, number 2, where it's talking about the profile of a graduate. The thing that I'm seeing that it's missing, and maybe I need to look back at profile of a graduate, but it's looking at the other pieces outside of pre-AP, AP, dual credit, on-ramps, things like the certifications, the licensing. Should that be included in there, or do we cover that whenever we're talking about PBMAS and other things? So just thinking about, it's just offering a suggestion, maybe just if we think about where we can capture that, because as we've been talking earlier, I think that's also a key component to making sure the students are ready for future success outside of just AP and dual credit courses. The third area is simply, maybe I need a better explanation to me for distinctions. I see distinctions all throughout this, and that we'll have campuses in the top quartile in each of these areas, and I don't know, while I understand why they're in that area, I don't know, does that mean that they're better? Good? I'm not sure what the significance of being in the first quartile is comparing themselves to other like-minded schools. And if we're going to truly be that district that everybody looks to for success, why are we simply comparing ourselves to like-minded campuses and districts? Why not just look at what those distinctions are, and did we have increase or decrease? And so that's what I'm saying. Maybe I need a better explanation of the importance of the distinction.
Well, for your second comment, the answer is yes. We will have that conversation of where that fits in. That was a good comment. The next one, for us, it was the goal. We looked at the discussions that Dr. Thornell and I have been having, and where he is really focusing in, and Rob, jump in whenever you need to, but what he's really going to focus in on are those achievement gaps that we have all over the district, whether they be from campus between campus or within the campus themselves. And we looked at the kids that we're teaching, the teachers we have in front of them, and the goal that we set was we should not be second to anyone and the easy comparability is the one that the TEA gives us anyway. So that was an easy target to hit, not an easy target hit, but that was a very good thing to come up with at the beginning of our goal setting to try to be able to say to being that district that everyone wants to be in, that we can hold that up to each building principal, and each building principal can have those kind of conversations with the parents that are coming in. And there may be a better way to compare ourselves always, but that was the number one thing that we looked at, just saying, trying to make sure that our principals understand they've got to look at every child, and to be able to attain that first quartile and those distinctions, every child has got to, they got to have a chance to succeed.
That's the first question to ask. Or maybe you look at performance objective 6, where you talk about student engagement. A couple pieces of that we talked about. The C case for legislature as a Friday case. We'll be addressing that. But they're talking about the recruitment and the retention and success rate in various programs. We tried to address the football components. There's some of that within that. Okay. And I think with the distinction, we've been on a career path or a path the last 3 years of trying to encourage our students to participate in advanced academic course experiences. And we feel pretty comfortable with a lot of those numbers of where they need to be next level of that performance. We've seen that steady climb. Things are over.
Any other questions, board members?
I would just ask, as you get into this document and you do have questions, comments, please send those to us over the next month, and we would like to address those at our next presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Espinoza, as well. Moving down to number 11G, which is TASB Policy Update 107. Dr. Warren.
Board, we have our next policy update, number 107 in. Christy has done a wonderful job going over this. She will present to you both the legal, in which she will just advise you what those legal policies are, the overview of those are, but more importantly, she will introduce the local policies contained within 107 that you will need to vote on our next board meeting. Christy, please.
All right. Good evening, trustees. Board Policy Update 107, there's not really a whole lot of controversy in this one. It's mostly updating matters to make sure that our locals align with our legal policies, and some cleaning up some places where there might have been duplicate or unnecessary language. We're going to start with gifts, fundraising, and solicitations and changes to that. The biggest change we have in this one, and this is the only place where the district rejected TASB's proposed language, was that we have added a prohibition on crowdfunding. Crowdfunding sounds like a great idea to use GoFundMe or other sites to raise money for school projects. The problem comes in the details, in that some of these sites charge up to 30% of a commission, and so our teachers and folks who were using these were getting less of the money back. It also puts out the image that we're constantly begging for money when maybe there are funds available to purchase what the teacher is asking for. And there's less oversight. Typically things that are bought with crowdfunded funds, they don't get inventoried, and teachers tend to think that it's their own property, and so if they leave to go to another district, a lot of times they'll take those goodies with them. And so what we have added in is just a prohibition on crowdfunding. We don't do that. Or we are proposing that we not do that in the future. There is a feature in our receipting program that's gone into place this year that would allow campuses and programs to seek online solicitations or donations from people, and that would be managed through our district's system. And so it's, we're not looking at giving 30% to an outside website to raise the funds for us. There is a way to do that in-house. Other key changes to CDC local, this allows the superintendent the authority to accept gifts from the public. Previously, it was only the board who had authority to do that. Board approval is still required for gifts of real property if someone wants to give us some land, or if someone wants to give gifts with strings attached, if there are conditions on a gift. That has to be approved by you. This policy also lists several considerations that we have to consider before we can accept a gift. Things like if the gift that we might be receiving would require ongoing costs, or if it might fund a program for a year or two, and then 2 years, 3 years down the road, we have no money to continue the program, we can consider whether that's a worthwhile gift for us to accept. Equitable funding is another factor that we would consider. And that might come into effect if, say, the Texas Rangers wanted to donate some top-of-the-line pitching machine to the boys' baseball team, but they didn't offer a similar gift to the softball team. That might end up in some inequity. And so we will consider equitable funding results. And also changes to buildings. If, for example, there was a partner that offered to donate a washer and dryer to one of our campuses so that kids who didn't have access to washers and dryers to clean their clothes easily could do that at school. Well, that sounds great until you start thinking about, well, if there's not a water line, if there's not a place for that dryer, if there's not a vent, then changes have to be made to the facility to accept that. With that washer and dryer, the district did make those changes, but just factors that we would consider before accepting a gift. There are, I don't know, a dozen or so factors listed in CDC for folks to consider before we take on gifts. In FJ Local, this covers student fundraising. This expands what students may fundraise. It does include not just school activities, but also non-school charitable purposes. If there's a worthwhile outside thing that student council or something wanted to support. Participation in fundraisers under the policy change is strictly voluntary. You can't exclude a child if they didn't participate in the fundraiser. Fundraisers are not permitted during class time. Previously, it was prohibited during school hours, but this carves open lunchtime and other times when you might not be specifically in class, when you could engage in fundraisers. And candy, beverages, those sorts of things can be sold when certain exceptions apply. Otherwise, it would conflict with our laws for healthy school lunches and healthy school food, but this allows a carve-out for that. Under GE Local, relationships with parent organizations, this specifically states that booster and support organizations, they have to comply with our regulations, and they have to notify the principal before they start fundraising or soliciting gifts. And that just allows the principal to know what's going on, so the principal doesn't get a call about this fundraiser and it's the first time they've heard about it. It also allows the principal to guide the boosters so that we don't have conflicting fundraisers where everyone's asking for money at the same time, so things can be spaced out more appropriately. The next set of policy changes are to CJ Local and DC Local. These are in response to federal law that now requires basically that we can't help someone get a new job if we know that they have engaged in any sort of sexual misconduct with a student or minor. It keeps us from giving glowing recommendations to someone we know who has harmed a child in that way. Our legal policy specifically states this. The federal law, though, requires that we have a local policy that also states this. And so the changes to CJ and DC just create that local policy. And basically what that policy is that we're not going to give good references to a sexual predator who's harmed a child or who we have reason to believe has harmed a child. We are still allowed to go through routine transmission of an administrative file if someone wants to know the dates of employment, salary, that sort of thing, if they need to confirm that they worked here, but we're not sending out glowing letters of recommendation or doing anything to help that person work with kids in the future. These two policies, CJ Local focuses on vendors and contractors. So in this case, that would be our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, or any other contractor, agent, subcontractor, maybe someone who's even worked in construction. We would not be allowed to help them. And then DC Local applies to our school district employees. And that if one of our school district employees has harmed a child in one of these ways, district employees are prohibited from helping them get another job. Okay, paid suspension of educators. This is covered in DFAA, DFBA, and DFCA. DFAA and DFBA really just streamlining language, not a whole lot of hoopla there. The only significant change here is that it requires that the superintendent place employees on paid administrative leave. Previously, that was could be done by the superintendent or designee. So that tightens up who has the authority to do that. Expense reimbursement under DE local. Again, streamlining some policy language. There was a statement in there previously that required that employees comply with the law for reimbursements, but that's surplus language. We would, of course, expect them to follow the law. One more change in this allows the employer supervisor to approve reimbursements. Previously, only the immediate supervisor had the authority to do that. So this opens things up a little bit. Policy changes to FBA local on homeschool students and compulsory attendance specifically states that homeschool kiddos are exempt from compulsory attendance to the same extent that children in private schools are. So we're not going to turn them in for truancy if they are truly being homeschooled. And it provides procedures where parents can notify us that they are homeschooling their child, and we are allowed to request a letter of assurance that the child is receiving adequate instruction. The wellness policy to FFA local. This is another one that federal law requires that we have a policy on student wellness, promoting nutrition and healthy activity. And so we met with SHAC and other folks in the district who are responsible for student health, went through and developed this policy. It just sets goals for our food services, for health activities, that sort of thing. Nothing particularly controversial there. Any questions? And this is just the first reading, so I'll come back to you August 14th, and you'll have an opportunity then to ask further questions and to consider and approve it at that time. But
any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Hobbs. I do expect all the board members to read all the language in these changes before the next meeting. Good. Okay. That moves us down to item H, which is update the board policy, DEC local. Dr. Warren.
All right, Ms. Hobbs is going to stay right back up there and present to you, board. We have a challenge I wrote to you about. Dr. Cayley and the HR crew, it was challenging this year for the number of absentees that we had in the classrooms, and trying to fill find substitutes to make sure we have adults in front of kids. And we're just trying to put some language in there to give principals some guidance on what constitutes leave time and what constitutes what we're going to require to request the discretionary leave time. So Christy and Kim have gotten together and done a really good job to try to clean up DEC for us. So Ms. Hobbs, please.
all right, hello again. Board policy DEC local. The purpose of this policy change is to make sure that we have teachers in the classroom on critical days before and after school vacations. We have seen absences spike on discretionary absences before and after those times where teachers naturally would want to extend those vacations a little bit. The problem is that those absences are very difficult to fill with a substitute teacher or guest educator. Kitty Paylor provided us this chart that details the number of teacher absences we had district-wide on particular days surrounding holidays and professional development. The second column tells us how many were out sick. The third column shows how many took a discretionary personal day. The total absences there. And then the last column there shows you the number of absences that were unfilled. Those are the number of classrooms that did not have a teacher present in that room that day. And so when that happens, we have to combine classes, move kids into other rooms. And as you can imagine, the quality of instruction goes down considerably when a teacher now has an extra 8, 10, or 15 students in their class than what they were originally planning for. Notably, if you look at this chart of the unfilled absences, it looks like our subpool was on most of these occasions was sufficient for the teachers who were out sick. But when we add in the teachers who took those discretionary days, all of a sudden we don't have enough subs to go around. And you can see the cost of this, the teachers who took personal days on those days before and after holidays and days of staff development. That cost us $41,000 in substitute teachers on those days. So we're looking at improving instruction and also keeping down some of those costs. The key changes would be that discretionary absences won't be allowed on certain days. And those discretionary absences are those kind of freebies. You don't have to be out for a professional reason. You don't have to be sick and go to the doctor. But days when you can just elect that you're going to take the day off. These would not be allowed on the day before a school holiday, the day after a school holiday, or days scheduled for professional development. And again, that's because those are really hard days to fill, and we need teachers in the classroom on those days. Now, there can be exceptions if you're having a once-in-a-lifetime event, if you've got a cruise plan for your 50th birthday, birth of a grandchild, a big deal, not just, hey, I want to stay at the lake one more day. The supervisor can give approval for those discretionary absences on these otherwise blacked out days. But the superintendent or supervisor would still have to consider the effect of that absence on the campus and our educational programs, as well as the availability of substitutes. There are limits on the number of days. So without prior approval, you can't take more than 3 in a row. And any of these discretionary absences have to be approved 5 days in advance. And again, the key to that 5 days in advance approval is that we're more likely to get a substitute if we've got a few more days to run through the system and get folks to fill those positions instead of a last-minute discretionary absence. There is some new language in here for maintenance, receiving, and distribution employees, and that's because the hot days for them may be different than the hot days for a classroom teacher in terms of the critical days when we can't lose them and can't have them out for discretionary absence. And so very similar to administrative approval required for teachers to take those employees in maintenance, also have to get their supervisor's approval, considering how that will affect district operations and the overall educational program. So you can still take your discretionary absences, but just not on certain days unless it's a big deal that your supervisor approves. Any questions on this one?
Got a couple questions. The first one's more of a new guy question. Professional development days, those are days without students, right?
Correct.
So do you need, what happens on those days, and do you need a substitute for them?
No. For professional development days, our concern is if teachers are taking off professional development days, they're not being professionally developed. And you saw on Christy's slide, there's a large number of staff members who are not going through our prescribed training. So, but no, to answer your question, there are no substitutes needed on those days.
But required training is happening on those days?
Correct.
Okay. And then what's so special about the Friday before parent conference day that many teachers called in sick or were absent? What is it? Is that what it is? Oh, I didn't just like. Well, I mean,
we don't know.
Is the stress of preparing for a parent conference that much that they need a day to get ready for it, or? Oh, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Off Monday, so therefore they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off.
Okay.
So that gives them an extended weekend.
Okay.
Was that what you were going to say, Susie?
We only have the students half day that day, and so if they give them time that weekend, the next week to parent conferences, we're going to try to maximize their time.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So, board, this is a report only. We won't ask you to do that. We'll ask you to review it for about a month, and then we'll bring it back to you in August.
So, I completely understand and I get every bit of this. My only maybe uncomfortableness is the idea that if it's a big event, what makes somebody's big event more big than my event? And then there could be a trickle-down effect if all these people on this campus have big events and they're approved, but this other campus, now they can't get any special events approved because there's no more subs. I'm not saying no. I just guess I'm uncomfortable with approving it for special events and what makes my event more special than yours type of deal.
I see where you're coming. There is some discretion given to campus principals that might lead to different results at different campuses. The factors they're supposed to look at are the same, though. Can we fill those absences? Will the educational program be affected? And I would hope that our principals would be fair in considering those things. And
okay, all right.
And I concur. I'm just curious. Have we looked at other school districts, and do they have this kind of policy? And have our faculty reviewed this and given input?
I would say, I don't know that I could say most other school districts, 80-90% other school districts have blackout dates. It is very common. I know when I taught 15 years ago, we had a similar policy. And my niece was born on the Friday before MLK Day, and it was a problem. But it was a problem that we were able to resolve through the policy, and they gave me some grace for not being there that day. So it's, as far as whether the faculty have reviewed it, I don't know that we have. I know it was discussed at a DLT meeting. Principals and administrators have been made aware of it. I don't know that it's been rolled out to.
It has. I think a lot of the principals did discuss it with their campus staff in May, and we did have this policy in place several years ago. I know when I was a teacher here in the district, we did have restricted personal days, and we had a form that we had to fill out to request having those personal days off, and I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, it just went away. And so we're wanting to just bring it back.
It just seems like it's going to be a little difficult to enforce because, again, you can't count on when a baby's going to be born or someone's going to be critically ill. And it just seems like it would be something that, I know teachers understand the issue, and it seems like they could be involved in problem solving that. So that just would be my thinking.
I agree with that too, and we're also going to see teachers just calling in sick. I mean, the honest ones will try to abide, but there'll be a lot that'll, I've got to take this day off. I'll just call in sick. They won't take my personal day. So I don't know if it's going to totally resolve the issue.
And it may not. I think it will help. I think the principals have really asked for this just to give some sort of some consistent policy that they can look on, and looking at, what number, a percentage of teachers that they could have out on a given day, not to exceed those absences. So I think it will help. Probably will not help solve it, but
it'd also be nice if maybe we could come up with some kind of incentive that would help, something positive instead of, to help us in this issue. I see the problem, but.
So what are the penalties for not abiding by the regulations?
Well, if you take an absence that you're not entitled to, eventually, once you've taken all that you're entitled to, you could be docked. There could be, you could be written up, reprimanded for taking time off that you shouldn't have, even if you haven't exceeded your number of absences. And certainly if you've falsified information, that's another issue for reprimand or some serious disciplinary action.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Ms. Hobbs. Brings us down to item 12, reports. Under A, review summary of the 2016-2017 District Improvement Plan and School District Evaluation of Performance and Community and Student Engagement and Compliance as required by House Bill number 5. Dr. Warren.
Okay, let me continue my DIP review for the district. This one. Thank you very much. All right, for our 16-17 District Improvement Plan and Summary Report, let me first, Board, if you look there by your position, you should have the annual report. Mrs. Conklin and the crew did a fantastic job putting together the annual report this year. I really do like it. Emily, any comments on the report itself? So that was really, they really did, they put together a really great document. All right, board, there was your planning schedule for this last school year. Dr. Rue, you and Dr. Rue participated in the DIP report on June the 16th, and the adoption was on June the 27th for the 16-17, and then we've gone through the school year reviewing those and checking off those strategies that we've accomplished, and it was a very good process. I really do like the process that has been in place as the cabinet has reviewed and worked on this district improvement plan, and staff has reviewed and worked on the district improvement plan throughout the school year. So this culminates tonight on June the 26th with the final report. Again, we used a strategic planning flowchart that wove together from core beliefs all the way through priority goals and department action plans and campus improvement plans. Our vision was the same. We used this again for this year, for this last school year, which that will be in your 17-18 district improvement plan. We used the same 5 operational goals you used for the strategic plan from 14 to 18. And I think I already reported this to you. This year's district improvement plan had 5 strategic goals, 25 performance objectives, 118 strategies. In your packet, you have the completed plan. I know you went through that line by line and looked at what was checked off and when it was checked off. But we have given you all that, and again, that's what we did throughout the school year, October, December, February, and through April, is making sure that we studied that and made sure that we were achieving those goals that we had set for ourselves. The culminating results, you can go by goal from goal 1 through goal 5. You can see the objectives, the strategies, and which ones, the check marks were the ones that we attained. The squiggly line is what we are still working on. And X, if we discontinue, for whatever reason, if we discontinued one of the goals for whatever reason, that is an X. So like in goal 2, out of the 18 strategies, 14 were accomplished, 3 we're still working on, and 1 was discontinued. Now, I did give you, and if you can look at the full, the totals of those, the complete plan out of that, I gave you the discontinued strategy just so you would know why, if we said they were goals, why we discontinued. Goal 2, objective 3, strategy 4, the health fair conflicted with the council PTA's vendor fair that day, so we did not actually hold that because of a conflict. For goal 4, objective 5, strategy 8, the bond process actually changed that for us. I believe that a high school number 4 was part of our goals for this last plan, and the committee went a different route, and I think that was a great decision on their part. So I just thought you would like to know if you did approve a specific strategy, why did we discontinue it? So I wanted to give you that information of why we did that through the discontinued strategies. All right. And again, there your annual report is there on that. It is based on strategic goals, and it's the publication and assignment change that reflect the school year achievements. And our crew did a great job with that. And now the House Bill 5 self-evaluation, community and district engagement compliance. And this is House Bill 5 driven. And the comment made by Dr. Thornell, we got the letter today, Rob? We got the letter today from TEA that this requirement has now been repealed by HB 22, I believe, correct? And that's the biggest disappointment in all this. Our self-evaluations, and let me tell you, and Steve, if this is the first time you've seen this for our community and student engagement, we go through the different categories. We give ourselves a rating: exemplary, recognized, acceptable, unacceptable, and looking at the areas, looking at the domains that we use: the fine arts, the wellness, community engagement, 21st century workplace. we feel these metrics are just as important, if not maybe more important than the state metrics. We really, truly do. And we pay attention to those, and we use these kind of metrics to make decisions on what we feel is going to be better for our children. And as a parent board, I appreciate this much more than I do so the test scores from the state of Texas. And now they have de-emphasized this as they tend to make decisions in Austin. Now they have de-emphasized this with the repeal from HB 22. But for our results this year, you can go through there, those different domains from fine arts through the gifted and talented. We feel we're doing an outstanding job for our communities, our parents, and definitely for our kids in those areas, and I'm very pleased with the work that has been done. I was very pleased, again, coming into this, and I kind of sat back and watched as the leadership and our teams worked on the district improvement plan, worked on the community assessments. So we're going to continue to stress, what's important for our children. What kind of conversations are we having with our parents? What are the expectations of our parents? And it's going to be interesting to see what our new accountability system, as we get into our new accountability system, unless it changes again by the end of July in August, which it very well could, to see what kind of effects it has on our system. But I was very pleased with the work that was done to complete the district improvement plan. Those that we still need to work on, we will do. We emphasize that in our new plan. And again, those of us who worked on this plan all year, we are available for you for any questions you may have.
Dr. Warren, going back real quick on that last note, the AF through F system has been revamped.
Yes, sir.
Is it my understanding that it will just be applied to the districts, not the schools in the 17-18 school year, but it won't count? I mean, they're just telling us.
The way it reads right now, they have completely removed the case from the domain. So we're going from 5 domains, and we're going to present it back in January. We have 5 domains going forward. They streamlined it to 3, and they removed the case. The literature that I have been reading, it looks like that we may be able to apply for the ability to parse our case in the future. The commissioner will come out with guidelines and standards to address that. And this just came through this morning. We have no word on what those days remotely look like. I'm hoping to hear a little bit more tomorrow. We do have a big conference.
And Melissa, there was language in the bills right at the end that would give us at least 1 year of report only of the A through F. But
the A through F portion, the first of the districts are set to be graded on those 3 domains.
Right.
A through F. The campuses have been given a free pass for that.
1 year, right.
1 year.
Right.
But we will be given for another projected A through F. For the campus. Yeah.
We all got A through F,
Right.
and then we didn't really get them.
Right. But this is all just fluid and changing every day, it seems like. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, board? Looks like our homework for the summer is rapidly filling our suitcase. Brings us down to 12B, May Financial and Investment Report. Dr. Warren.
Mr. Grenswich, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gresswich. Item 12C, Facilities Planning and Construction Report. Dr. Warren.
And Sarah is approaching the bench. Board, let me, as Sarah gets ready, Sarah and Tim took me on a tour, was it last week? Took me on a tour last week of several of the building sites, the projects we're doing. Sarah and her crew are doing a great job. Tim, Sarah, the crew are all doing a great job. We walked around Adams Middle School. It's going to look great. It's going to look, the work is progressing.
I do have a question. It's not a tough question. Who's paying for the improvements for the maintenance repairs on Texan Drive? Are we paying for that? What portion of the facilities in here belong to the city or county versus Northwest ISD? Which ones are ours and which ones are theirs? Yes. I was looking for what internal roads between 114 and 156 belong to us and the other belong to another.
From One Horse Farm headed east to 156, that is the only public drive. It belongs to the city of Fort Worth. Everything else is ours.
So why can't we restrict 18-wheelers cutting through here?
We're posting the signs tomorrow. So we have the signs that we had, Sarah had worked on last week. We got them in. They walked today to see where they were going to post them, and they should be up in the next day or so.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, on that, how will that be enforced? If we do see the trucks coming through after y'all post those signs?
Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Stewart.
Good job.
Moving to item 13, there is no items removed from the consent agenda. Let's move to the board president's report very quickly. Just as a reminder, the North Texas Visioning Consortium Leadership Dinner is Monday, July the 17th at 7 p.m. in the OLC. So please get with Jennifer as far as any reservations for that. I appreciate those that were able to make it to SLI last week. And if there's any, yes, never mind. Is there anything any of the board members would like to report about any of the training? Want to share anything at this time? If not, please keep in mind that there is no meeting for the month of July at this point in time. You never know when one might be called, but right now there are none scheduled. So, moving on down to superintendent's report.
Board, a couple things. August the 14th, Monday, August the 14th is our first August board meeting. Couple of things I'd like to get accomplished that day. Let's go ahead and be able to speak about Team of 8 training, our first training session, who we would like to conduct that. It'd be whether it be a TASB person, a TASA person, service center person, whoever we can find that we feel comfortable with. So let's go ahead and get that nailed down then. Back to school fair, put it on your calendar, Saturday, August the 19th. It's going to be at Pike Middle School again. We've had great response back from that for our back to school. That's a great thing for families. Convocation, if you've not already got that on your calendar, Monday, August the 21st. We're going to do it at 1 p.m. this year. It's going to be an afternoon convocation, and it's going to be at Gateway Church in Southlake. We found some place that we can all get in to. So Monday, August the 21st. I know you are already, but be very proud of Mrs. Conklin and her crew. We received today a National Website Award, an award of excellence from the National School Public Relations Association. We were only one of only 10 in the U.S. that they honored for our website. So that crew does a great job on that. So we found out that today. Last thing, before Mr. Fuller speaks, the goal of the strategic plan beginning in October, did that sound okay to everyone? Is that a good plan? Do you think that's a good timeline? Okay. Dr. Denise Collier with the Collier Educational Consulting through TASA did it last time. Let's go ahead and start discussing a facilitator again on that board meeting on the 14th of August. If you thought she did a great job last time, if she's still available, if there's someone else that you've looked into, we're going to research it as an administrative team. So let's go ahead and make those plans as well on that first board meeting in August.
Dr. Warren, real quickly on
yes,
that.
Sir.
If we're doing that in August, will we be able to book someone down for October?
Well, I don't know, Mr. Wright. I don't. Hopefully, we'll be able to work out hopefully they're not booked every.
Right.
But I haven't done enough looking into it to bring you, unless you just know we want that person again. Yeah. Mr. Schluter, that's all I have.